Thank you, Todor, for this introduction. We all know that knowledge is the basis of many social happenings, and to have a resilient society, we have to build knowledge. Building knowledge starts with theory. So unlike yesterday's more practical sessions on FIMI, today I will approach this issue from a more abstract and theoretical point of view. My topic is conceptualizing FIMI social and collective drivers in social scientific terms. That means in terms of variables, and how these variables can be operationalized. As you all know, CSD has been very active in disentangling Russian disinformation, propaganda, fake news. It has come up with a large body of knowledge, starting from the seminal editions of the Kremlin Playbook and going through numerous policy analysis, policy briefs, reports, etc. This makes it only natural that we are partnered under a project called Deconspirator, so that we could build on that knowledge, but also be part of the overall efforts to counter foreign information manipulation and interference. I'll open a bracket to say a few words about the project. First of all, I want to tell you that there are some leaflets outside on the table. So if you're interested in more in-depth information, you can pick up some of these leaflets. The Deconspirator project aims to understand the success factors, manifestation, and impacts of Russian and Chinese FIMI, and to provide data-driven policy solutions. Beneficiaries of the project are policymakers, representatives of civil society, the epistemic communities of academics, fact-checkers, etc. And the objectives of the project are to analyze the strategies and tactics of those who initiate FIMI, understand how FIMI spreads within the communities. The project is at the intersection of policy analysis and scientific inquiry. It is funded by Horizon Europe. There are 13 partners, almost half of which are big European universities. The project is in its first year, which is basically devoted to collecting data and to reviewing the existing knowledge on the topic of FIMI and other FIMI-related terms like disinformation, propaganda, fake news, cognitive warfare, conspiracy theories, etc. What we as a partner under the project did, which was one of our tasks, was to collect and identify and collect scholarly literature on FIMI and to find the social and collective drivers of FIMI. In order to understand the collective dynamics of FIMI exposures and group behavior, provide an understanding of how these drivers influence the spread of FIMI, we detected a major research gap in the literature insofar as the drivers were not very well conceptualized. We had to infer these drivers quite often from the context or from the goals of FIMI, disinformation, and so on and so forth. To open parentheses, FIMI is a relatively new concept, so much of the literature does not directly deal with FIMI, but we adapted FIMI drivers from other related terms, like I mentioned a little while ago. Moreover, FIMI drivers are not very well conceptualized as variables. There are two groundbreaking reports of the European External Action Service, which define FIMI and analyze the actors, processes, and channels through which FIMI operates, as well as goals and potential consequences. The approach is very actor-centric and deals with processes, but yet there is no precise definition of FIMI drivers that are attributable to FIMI, as well as their operationalization. Of course, there is no clear delineation of social scientific variables. I will not go through the definition for the want of time, but what is important to know is that although FIMI overlaps with disinformation or propaganda, it is not only that. The FIMI framework represents two things. One of the things is that it is an analytical framework for FIMI threat response. It's a framework to respond to FIMI attacks on the one hand, and on the other hand, it is for analyzing FIMI. As I said, it is very actor-centric and focused on processes. To put this hodgepodge of drivers into some kind of structure, we decided to look at the three levels of analysis, which are the macro level, which examines large-scale social structures, processes, and institutions like whole societies, economies, global systems, or cultures. Meso level, focusing on intermediate social structures or units. And micro level, which is the smallest scale of inquiry, focusing on smaller individual groups, like families, for example. As I said, we came up with a list of drivers. We came up with a list of about 100 drivers, and we intend to come up with a state-of-the-art report, which is not deliverable onto the project, but still we think it is worth doing it because we can get into these issues in more depth and show up the whole list of drivers. And it is not exhaustive. It could be even more than 100. I will mention a few that are most important. The first group of drivers is linked to politics and the political system, mode of governance, institutional environment, and some of the literature we consulted stipulates that democratic societies are more vulnerable to FIMI due to their openness, high level of diversity, democratic backsliding, dysfunctional governance and state capture are yet another drivers that are conducive to FIMI. Low public trust, of course, is one of the most common drivers. Low trust in general appears almost everywhere as a driver. We can talk about various types of social divisions and polarization, be it economic, social, political, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, polarization appears as one of the most commonly stated drivers in the literature. The media environment is another field that attracts attention in terms of drivers. We again deal with the problem of trust. Low trust in the media has always been an issue, but it is also coupled with media capture, whereby political or economic entities exert excessive control over important media outlets, or cognitive capture, which has to do with how journalists represent or influence content by reflecting their own perceptions and worldviews. As meso level drivers, we can mention social networks and social norms. Social stratification is especially important because quite often FIMI content is targeted to specific audiences. Socioeconomic factors and socio-demographic variables also play part. And of course, other drivers are membership of social identity groups, presence of minority groups, party affiliation, partisanship also emerge as meso-level factors, enabling factors that may influence people's vulnerability. And of course, political parties with favorable attitudes towards or with close ties with threat actors. And as I mentioned, strategic corruption also can play at this level. I will open another bracket and say that these levels can influence each other on the one hand. On the other hand, one and the same driver can be conceptualized at different levels depending on the size of the social structure that we want to analyze, or the social structure or social group. Okay, I will move fast forward. So the major part of our analysis is how to conceptualize drivers as variables. Usually drivers are broader enabling factors. Variables are smaller and operationalizable, but we still can draw some inferences about how drivers can be transformed into variables for the sake of social scientific research. And independent variables are roughly equated to cause, dependent are effects or outcomes, and the intervening variable is the pathway, mediator, or modifier. And let's take polarization as an example, as one of the most common drivers. If we take a FIMI operation or campaign as the independent variable or the cause, and its goal is to change public opinion, party preferences, electoral behavior, or vote choice, then polarization can help amplify this effect. So in this case, it will be an intervening variable. And from my point of view, we can equate drivers and intervening variables. Again, if we take a FIMI operation campaign, which aims to change or manipulate public opinion or ensure positive coverage, then intervening variables could be media capture or control over media outlets. However, if a FIMI operation is aiming directly to changing the levels of polarization, then polarization will be a dependent variable and no driver any longer if we have this causal if we take this causal relationship. And finally, polarization may lead to increased susceptibility or vulnerability to FIMI, and in this case, it will be an independent variable. So one and the same phenomena can be differently conceptualized depending on how we ask our research question, what our object of inquiry is, and at what level we place our inquiry. So basically, what we will propose within the project is to follow, especially when we deal with social scientific research, this part of the project, to follow some kind of causal relationship that we propose here. And it is important to bridge theory and practice, and because theory informs practice and practice informs theory, and in this way we can build more resilient societies. Thank you.